A very warm welcome to RTV News in English. I am Gloria Mutesi. Now let's begin this edition by informing you that an extraordinary cabinet meeting was chaired by His Excellency Paul Kagame today to discuss Rwanda's response to the COVID-19 Omicron variant, which has been designated a variant of concern by the World Health Organization. While the variant has not been detected in Rwanda, its effects are potentially dangerous, and therefore Rwandans and residents of Rwanda are required to exercise extra vigilance in the practice and enforcement of preventive measures. Effective immediately, direct flights between Rwanda and Southern Africa are temporarily suspended. All arriving and departing passengers at Kigali International Airport must present a negative COVID-19 PCR test taken 72 hours prior to departure. All arriving passengers must quarantine for 24 hours at a designated hotel at their own cost. A COVID-19 PCR test will be taken upon arrival at own cost, and an additional test covered by the government of Rwanda taken on day 7 from the arrival date at a designated testing site. A 7-day quarantine at own cost will be required for passengers traveling from or those with a recent history of travel in particularly affected countries. This list will be communicated by the Ministry of Health following continuous assessment of global health conditions in collaboration with the relevant international institutions. People attending events and gatherings, including conferences, concerts, weddings, festivals, or exhibitions must be fully vaccinated and tested, and as much as possible, gatherings should take place outdoors or in well-ventilated spaces. All other existing health measures shall remain in force, and Rwandans are urged to get fully vaccinated, frequently tested, and continue being vigilant in practicing COVID-19 preventive measures, including physical distancing, properly wearing face masks, and ensuring proper ventilation and hand hygiene. Done in Kigali on the 28th of November 2021 and signed by the Prime Minister Dr. Edward Ngirente. Now moving on, the Secretary General of the RPF Inkotanyi Party has urged youth in the party to learn about Rwanda's cultural values and practice them, saying those very values are responsible for Rwanda's achievements. Francois Ngarambe made the call on Sunday as 700 of the party's youth league gathered for their General Assembly at the RPF headquarters located in Rusororo. Stationary with the details.
The discussions at the General Assembly focused on Rwanda's history, her values as a country, and the role of the youth in the continued struggle to attain long-term development. Rwandans are capable of many things, but there are some things we cannot do unless we work extra hard. I am therefore going to focus on technology and other opportunities our country provides to develop. When you look at our home area of the Western Province, it is obvious that it is very conducive for agriculture. We must therefore use technology to be able to grow our crops, regardless of whether or not the rains come on time, producing for the province, other parts of the country, and even enough to export abroad.
My contribution is warning young girls against unwanted pregnancies, and I tend to spread my message further to many different parts of the country. To make that possible, I must not underestimate my role. We have not been held back as young people, which is why we are here. But our presence must be more than just physical. We must put in the necessary mental effort to come up with the sort of solutions that will one day make us victorious against the challenges that we face.
The president of the party's youth league gave assurances that the young people are ready to play their part in accelerating Rwanda's development. We will continue with sensitization efforts on the promotion of youth employment initiatives, help young people to become professional farmers, urge the private sector to play its part in this regard, and work to improve project business proposals submitted by young entrepreneurs and facilitate internships. The Secretary General of the RPF Inkotanyi Party commended the way young people in the country have been handling the COVID-19 pandemic and called on them to continue on the path of discipline.
turabashimira kandi mwebwe nk'urubyiruko uruhare mwagaragaje.
We thank you for your role in the fight against COVID-19 as Rwanda and indeed the world continues to grapple with the pandemic. It shows that you do listen to the advice the chairman of the RPF Inkotanyi Party has continued to give you. We are therefore confident that you are prepared to shift into the next gear in our drive towards achieving the Vision 2050 as a country. You as young people are expected to take the forefront in addressing the different problems in existence such as gender-based violence, teen pregnancies, kids who drop out of school, lower than expected agricultural yields, drug problems among young people, youth unemployment, climate change and its effects, fighting epidemics and pandemics like COVID-19 and much more. Francois Ngarambe urged the youth in the party to learn about Rwanda's cultural values and practice them, saying those very values are responsible for the country's achievements.
Rubyiruko nimwige mumenye umuco wacu mumenye amateka n'indangagaciro nyarwanda.
Young men and women, you should learn about and understand our culture and the history of its values because they are responsible for making us who we are. These values I am talking about include the Rwandan identity, patriotism, courage with integrity, being hardworking and having self-respect and respecting others. Those are the values that have helped Rwanda to survive.
Kawe bwite akabawe n'abanyarwanda izo ndangagaciro zose zizatumye u Rwanda rutazima.
The last General Assembly of the RPF Youth League took place in 2019 and the next will be held 2 years from now. This year's gathering focused on a theme that encourages young people to see the connection between Rwanda's cultural values and her development moving forward.
Now, residents of Nyaruguru district are commending the government for its efforts in constructing infrastructure at the Kibeho Holy site, which has helped both local residents and those who visit the area. This was stated during the celebration of the 40th anniversary of the Marian apparitions, which made the area internationally recognized. Mass was held to mark the anniversary, and the Catholic faithful were urged to uphold the sort of values that bring them closer to God. Kibeho Parish has been a global pilgrimage destination for Roman Catholics since the Virgin Mary appeared on the 28th of November, 1981. The focal point is Kibeho Church, where the faithful receive Holy Communion. Today, the site is to host pilgrims throughout the year, with two major dates dominating the calendar: Assumption Day, which is celebrated on the 15th of August, and the 28th of November, the anniversary of the Virgin Mary's appearance. During peak season, Kibeho Church receives between 25,000 to 30,000 visitors. Religious tourists and pilgrims flock from across the world, including America, Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, France, Italy, and India. During low season, Kibeho receives approximately 100 religious tourists a week, mostly from Rwanda, Uganda, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Tanzania. Now, 150 Dutch soldiers who are currently in Rwanda for training on Sunday visited the Kigali Genocide Memorial at Gisozi to pay tribute to the memory of the victims of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. On Sunday morning, a contingent of 150 soldiers arrived at the Kigali Genocide Memorial at Gisozi to visit and learn about the history preserved there. While at the memorial, they paid their respects at the graves of the more than 250,000 victims of the genocide against the Tutsi buried there. In the guest book, the team leader, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Vreken, wrote a condolence message to the Rwandan people and presented 2,000 euros to the Kigali Genocide Memorial Administration.
Today, we, soldiers of the Royal Netherlands Army, stand here to pay our respects to the victims of the genocide against the Tutsi, to ensure they are not forgotten, but also to underline that soldiers are meant to keep the population safe, to protect what we hold. We have chosen to carry the guns in order to make the world a safer place, to protect the vulnerable, to defend our democratic values, to protect the vulnerable, to defend our democratic values.
The Dutch ambassador in Rwanda criticized the then government soldiers for committing the genocide and violating their oath of office, and commended the former RPF Inkotanyi forces for their bravery in stopping the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi.
It was the armed forces of the former regime that took the lead in the killing. Thus, it demonstrated to be an army that had deliberately renounced the basic reason for its existence, which is to protect the people. It also took the use of force and the will and ability to intervene during the RPA's campaign against the genocide to bring the genocide to an end. I am grateful that the Rwanda Defense Forces have offered the opportunity to the 43rd Mechanized Brigade of the Netherlands Army to practice, build their skills, and maintain their preparedness.
Rwandan Defense spokesperson Colonel Rwivanga Ronald says that it brings pride seeing such a group choose to come and train in Rwanda, citing Rwanda's good weather and adequate training facilities that the country has.
There has been an existing partnership between the Kingdom of Netherlands and the Republic of Rwanda in defense cooperation. This exemplifies the depth of that relationship. The fact that they can come here to do training for one of their mechanized infantry battalions is a sign of the confidence they have in our systems, our training systems, and our training locations that have the requisite facilities to conduct this training. So it's quite a remarkable indication of a strong relationship between both countries.
Over the course of 3 weeks, the group of 150 Dutch soldiers from the 44th Mechanized Infantry Battalion will be training at the Gabiro Combat Training Center. The Netherlands began assisting Rwanda in the aftermath of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi to support the country's reconstruction, assistance in the sectors of the judiciary, agriculture, distribution of clean water to the people, and military cooperation. Also in the news today, this Sunday, a group of 25 senior leaders from South Sudan visited the Mutobo Demobilization and Reintegration Camp located in Musanze district. The visit intends to understand how it operates and how its mission has been achieved. Martina Abera now reports.
The 25-member delegation is made up of ministers, MPs, and senior officers in the South Sudan Army and Police. The visit to Mutobo was aimed at learning about the center's activities and learning from Rwanda as the two countries share history, according to Michael Makeu Luth, South Sudan's Information Communication Technology and Postal Services Minister.
Our problems are almost the same with those of Rwanda, and we had been at war and we have now settled just like what Rwanda did. And this center is actually a very important center for the reintegration, demobilization and reintegration, and the combatants and the supporters, and it is well equipped and highly managed by highly experienced personnel who are doing a good job for the combatants, for the demobilized combatants, and I'm sure they are rendering a good service, and the returnees.
Minister Makeu added that they were happy with their visit to Mutobo and that it has inspired them to establish the same center in South Sudan.
I really appreciate the visit. We have seen what is happening here, and we will take it home with us. We will take this experience home, and it will be of great help to us in the establishment of our DDR centers.
Rwanda Demobilization and Reintegration Commission Chairperson Honorable Valerie Nyirahabineza reiterated that the visit by the South Sudanese delegation was aimed at sharing experiences. They invited us so that we can help them sensitize their officials, to facilitate the establishment and operation of the same demobilization center. They are very happy because they didn't know that Rwanda has such a good center. We told them that by the time they come back, things will be better. The Mutobo demobilization camp has so far demobilized about 12,000 ex-combats. The South Sudanese delegation commenced its visit to Rwanda on Saturday, where they visited the Kigali Genocide Memorial, the Kinigi Model Village, and the Mutobo demobilization camp. It is expected that on Monday they will begin lessons about reconciliation after war and peace building at the Rwanda Peace Academy, which is on top of their agenda.
Let's now cross to the education sector, where high school students with smart classrooms note that they help them to carry out research on different things that they need to learn. Officials in the Ministry of Education have confirmed the Smart Classroom initiative has now reached a 58% coverage countrywide.
By the people who have
College St. Andre is located in Nyamirambo sector of Nyarugenge district here in Kigali. Students who study the subject combination of math, physics and computer, or MPC, use a smart classroom. This will help me to compete on the labor market. And to compete on the labor market requires to have enough knowledge. And as you can see, this smart classroom is properly set up.
As you can see, this classroom has very many machines and other materials that connect us to the internet, which help us to carry out enough research on the subject material the teachers give us.
Kagarama Secondary School, located in Kicukiro district, also has a smart classroom, and students there also understand the significance of having such equipment.
The smart classroom mostly helps us while studying sciences, facilitating enough research on what we are studying.
We do research and find out how things are done in the lab, helping us to understand what we previously were unable to do practical work on. Jean-Pierre Rusingizwa is a computer science teacher at St. Andre, and he and other science teachers like Clava Nirora of Kagarama SS agree that without smart classrooms, their tasks would become almost impossible. This software helps us when giving explanations, and it helps me to illustrate what I am saying. The rest you see is all hardware. But the software is really what makes the biggest difference to us when teaching, because I can distribute exercises to all the other machines simultaneously, making my life a lot easier. When you compare to the time when we started teaching, a lot has changed. In biology, we need things like computer diagrams and simulations, things we did not have back then. The introduction of smart classrooms changed everything because now students are able to see what you are talking about and they understand much better. Faustin Nitejeka studied computer science, and that's what he now does for a living. He says he first used a computer in 2007 at the university level. He commends the fact that primary and secondary school students now use such machines. I think you remember that the President of the Republic once said Rwanda is the heart of Africa when it comes to technology. All things are done on computers and technology is used. When you're going to buy something, you are obligated to use technology, and all work is done on computers. So children growing up using such machines helps them later in life, and technology also facilitates teachers to do their work quickly. In 2016, Rwanda's Ministry of Education introduced a policy of using technology in education by putting smart classrooms in schools. Education officials have confirmed that 58% of all schools now have their own smart classrooms, and the goal is to hit 85% by 2024. Schools with such classrooms have 100 computers for students and another 5 for their teachers. This story was translated by Betty Mutoni and read to you by Sarah Shinhore for Rwanda Television News.
Thank you, Betty Mutoni and Serge Nore for that report. Now, more than 121 years ago, the first Roman Catholic Church was built on Rwandan soil located at Save in the Butare Diocese. Some Catholics in Save say that in addition to the spiritual healing this parish has facilitated, it helped them in bringing about more infrastructure, hence bettering the livelihoods of people in that area. Let's now hear from Jane Mutoni.
It all started on February 8, 1900, when the first white fathers arrived at Isave. These included Father Joseph Hith, Father Alphonse Broad, Father Barthélemy, and Brother Anselm from different European countries, from the family of Holy Fathers and Father Blanche, who had a seat in North Africa in Algeria. Their coming to Africa and in Rwanda was intended to fulfill the mission that Jesus Christ left for his apostles as he was about to return to heaven, as found in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 28, verse 18 to 20. In the early hours of the morning, Christians in a group of saints were chanting a rosary. The high priest of the parish has given the right to Nikombambuna Emmanuel, a 62-year-old man, to explain the special history of the founding of the parish. The building has a well where early Christians used to be baptized from, and a harp made of wood. Initially, the church was built on wood and grass, after which Christians were encouraged to make bricks and roof tiles in order to rebuild it. In order to encourage people to participate, the missionaries would give a variety of gifts or items which they had never seen before, such as matchboxes. A new church was built next to the old one, which was constructed with bricks and tiles in the 1960s, as it was weak and looked like it could collapse. A part of it was torn down, leaving behind a historic small portion. Some Christians in Isave say that this church has served a light to them during dark times. Because of it, we came to know God, because before our people believed and praised in small gods like Jangombe and Nyabingi and others, but now people believe in one true God. In addition to the spiritual enlightenment, the holy priest also began to teach Rwandans at the time new ways, for instance, how to dress up, because they used not to wear clothes or even shower, and when they could get sick, they used natural herbs as medicine. The establishment of the new church brought about more infrastructure, such as the Save Health Center. After the foundation of the parish, Isave was the first sector in the whole country to have schools that teach arts and crafts. Christians sent their children there in large numbers. Since then, the school was continuously expanded to other places. Although during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, no people were killed in the Save parish, as it happened in various churches. In the aftermath of the genocide against the Tutsi, the church has been instrumental in uniting the Rwandan community. They encouraged us to leave behind the ethnic groups of Hutu and Tutsi, and in a way that the mentality did not extend to our children. On April 11, 1903, on a Holy Saturday, just 3 years after the founding of the church, 22 young men and women were given the baptismal sacrament and became the first Christians in the country and were called Abatebura. The parish priest of Save, Chebambe Medad, says that the church became like a parent to the Christians in Save through teaching and conversion, from being baptized to choosing to dedicate their lives to God.
It transformed people into believing in God and decide to get baptized and also take part in church activities. Not only that, also brought about the establishment of infrastructure such as schools and hospitals.
After the establishment of the Save parish, others such as Zaza, Nyundo, Gwaza, and others followed. It has more than 43,000 Christians in Central 5, 27 mission areas, and 180 foundational families. Jane Mutoni, RTV News.
We'll leave it at that for today. It's always a pleasure to have your company. Have a great week ahead and see you soon.